morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're glad that today you're with us. My name is Max Kushniruk, and I'm a legal assistant at FinTech Harbor Consulting Company. I hope you can hear us and see us clearly. Please type anything in chat, like plus if you can see us and hear us. So today we are going to discuss trends, options, and future of gaming licenses. What changes are expected for a gaming license in Curaçao? What is Anjouan, and why is Anjouan is a great alternative to Curaçao? And the key basic recommendations regarding obtaining gaming licenses. And our webinar, I would like to inform you once again, as usual, it will be no longer than an hour. If you have any questions, just feel free to write down your questions in Zoom chat, and we will discuss it today in the end of our webinar. Also, at the end of our meeting, as usual, at each webinar, we're going to announce a great bonuses for our members of today's webinar. And stay with us until the end, and you will have an opportunity to get much better conditions to start your gaming business. And as usual, I would like to introduce today's speaker, fintech lawyer and legal project manager with international experience in various jurisdictions, Bogdan Popovchenko. Bogdan,
Max,
nice to meet you. Yes,
hello,
I
Max.
pass the word to you.
Thank you. Thank you for your intro. Dear viewers, dear clients, dear colleagues, thank you for joining us. I know a lot of our colleagues are attending the webinar today, so welcome everyone. Today we're going to discuss the gambling licenses in 2023-24 trends, alternatives, and future. So let's start. Just a second. Yeah. So let's start with a brief discussion of the size of the current online gambling market. So according to a Statista latest report, the online gambling market is set to occur $95 billion in revenue in 2023. With a forecasted annual growth rate of 8.54%, the online gambling market is projected to raise more than $130 billion by 2027. The number of users in the online gambling industry is expected to reach more than 230 million users by 2027, which will actually mean that almost 3% of the entire world's population will be active online gambling users. So for comparison, how huge this amount is, just to imagine, the online gambling market in 2023 will be more than 3.5 times larger than the online gaming market. So as you can see, the words are alike, but the difference is significant. So let's move on and discuss the global gaming regulation. So what actually is the global gaming regulation? So what is it all about? So basically, the approaches to global gaming regulation can be divided into 4 categories. So the first category is jurisdiction where foreign online casinos are not prohibited. So this category includes such jurisdictions as Brazil, Nigeria, Liberia, and more than 50 other jurisdictions, which makes this group one of the hugest. The second category includes jurisdictions that require a local license for local gaming platform, but doesn't require a license for foreign gaming platforms. So, for example, it may include Moldova, Rwanda, and so on. The third category is jurisdictions where gambling websites and platforms must be licensed locally. So they need to have a local license or permission for their activities. So it is also a huge group, not so huge as the first one, but nonetheless. It includes UK, Cyprus, for example, USA, those states where gambling is not prohibited. So it actually includes Nevada, New Jersey, West Virginia, and so on. And the last but not least is the group of jurisdictions where online gambling is prohibited within their territory. So a good example here may be United Arab Emirates. So gambling activities on the territory of UAE is prohibited according to penal code. You cannot provide services for residents and citizens of UAE. And also Constitution of UAE states that Islam is official religion of the United Arab Emirates, and Islam and some Sharia law is implemented in the local legal framework. So let's move forward to the recommendations. So what key recommendations we may provide on this step? So platforms which want to provide online gambling activities, they need to analyze the local regulatory requirement of the jurisdictions of their activities. So, for example, if you want to provide services to US clients, first of all, you need to analyze if is it allowed in those states where you provide your activities, what are requirements and types of license, and after that, to select the optimal license which will cover your activities. In case if you want to provide services worldwide without in those jurisdictions where the local license is not required, so you may basically choose the optimal license of those jurisdictions that we'll discuss today. So let's move to key gambling jurisdictions. So what currently are key gambling jurisdictions? So traditionally, this list includes such jurisdictions as Malta, Isle of Man, Curaçao, and Gibraltar. So basically, these jurisdictions are commonly known in the field of gambling regulation. They have its own approach to gambling regulation, own tax systems, own permitted activities, but nevertheless, they all are flagships in this industry. So let's start with Malta. So according to Malta Gaming Authority guidelines, permitted activities include casino games, virtual sport games, and lotteries. It also includes fixed odds betting, pool betting, and peer-to-peer games. It also includes skill games, and as you can see, there are different activities within Malta, but basically they can be divided into two main licenses. So the first one is a single license for all activities, and the second is a license where you can conduct only skill games activities. So if to continue with it, the application fee for it may start with 5,000 euros. If you want to conduct all the activities within Malta, the license will cost you 25,000 per year. I mean, only in respect to state fees. So it is not entire fees that you are going to spend in for legal infrastructure. The second is Isle of Man. So according to online gaming regulation in Isle of Man, the permitted activities include gaming electronically, negotiating on receiving bets electronically, lotteries accessed electronically, and as you can see, the range of services is also quietly huge. There is a single type of license in Isle of Man instead of Malta when you can decide which is better for you. And basically, you can operate within all these activities under the license where the state fees starts from 36,000 and 750 pounds per year. So in this case, also you may obtain a sub license which costs 5,250 British pounds per year. So what actually is sublicense? Sublicense is a type of license that can be issued by a company who already has a license in Isle of Man, and will be the holder of a sublicense will be also able to conduct activities under this license. So let me provide you with an example. If you have a license in Isle of Man and you also have partners who want to conduct activities who also, I'm very sorry, who also want to conduct activities under this license, you may provide a sub-license for your partners, and they will be allowed to conduct activities under it. The third example is Curaçao. Personally, my favorite option from all of them, and I guess probably the most
Bogdan,
popular license.
I'm so sorry for interrupting you. Please, can you close the Zoom icon because it's very hard to read the presentation.
Yep, Max, sure. Just a second, dear viewers. Sorry for technical issues. So let's move forward. Yep, dear viewers, how can you see now? Maybe I shall consider a possibility of putting us up, Max. What do you say? To allow viewers to see us. Is it better now?
If you can close it generally, it will be great. If not, so you can just
okay, no problem.
Yeah. Thanks. Right now
Perfect.
it's good.
Okay, so let's continue our discussion. We stopped on the most interesting part, the Curaçao, probably the most popular jurisdiction in generally worldwide. It allows, so since the Curaçao gambling legislation of 1993 doesn't specify the concrete types of activities, it is allowed to conduct almost any type of gambling activities within this jurisdiction. So basically, it includes casino games, poker, betting, lottery, and is not limited to them. So here we have another single type license where we can conduct almost any type of activities. So in this presentation, we mentioned approximate state fees that are required for obtaining a Curaçao license. They were mentioned by a Ministry of Finances and by the consultant who is currently working on this legislation. So the application fee starts from 4,000 euros. The license will cost 12,000 euros per year, and the URL fee will cost 250 euros per month. So as you can see, it is more affordable than other jurisdictions, but nonetheless, it may be not the final costs, since the legislation still wasn't shown to any provider, to any lawyer. It was only introduced on the official websites. The fees may change a little, but we guess not dramatically. And the last jurisdiction in this list is Gibraltar, probably the most expensive jurisdictions all that we present. So the Gibraltar allowed to conduct lots of different types of activities, which include bookmaker license, betting, gaming machine, lottery, and remote gaming. So as you can see, there are lots of types of activities permitted under the Gibraltar, but you have to point your attention that this is not types of activity. These are types of license. So if you want to conduct a few activities mentioned here, so probably you will require to obtain a few license. So the license costs start from 85,000 pounds year for B2B support services, and for all the rest licenses that are related to gambling, it costs 100,000 pounds per year. So currently, the Gibraltar regulator and the government is considering the possibility to make a lower fees for startups, but still this regulation hasn't been implemented. So they only negotiate the possibility to making a fees starting from 50,000 pounds per year for small companies. So let's move forward and to see what alternatives are currently represented on the market. So the first one, and personally my favorite, is Anjouan. So the Anjouan defines computer gaming services very broadly. The definition is specified in Articles 2 and 3 of Anjouan Computer Gaming Licensing Act, and is also very broad, same as we can see in Curaçao. So Same as we can see in Curaçao. It allows you conducting casino games, poker, betting, lottery, provision of gambling software, and white labeling services. But it's not limited to them. So again, very huge definition. The huger definition allows us to conduct the more activities. The second example is Georgia. So according to Article 24 of Georgia Licensing and Authorization Act, it is allowed to conduct also lots of type of gambling activities. So establishing a gambling club, providing gambling and online games, bingo, electronic system-based games, and electronic system-based slot machine games. As you can see, we mentioned that some of these activities will be allowed from 2024 because the legislation has just changed, and we decided to mention when it will finally take effect. Another example is Cyprus. The Cyprus National Betting Authority allows the following activities. So electronic betting machine, limited payout slots machine, online casino gambling games, and electronic horse racing bets. Yep, so it's still a very popular type of activity within this jurisdiction. And Portugal legislation allows you to provide casino games, poker, bingo, and fixed slot machine betting, and all these services online. So as you can see, we have lots of jurisdictions that are flagships in this industry, and those jurisdictions which are not so famous in gambling industry, but nevertheless are still good. So let's move on and discuss what changes are expected for Curaçao. So as we discussed upper, the Curaçao currently is the most popular jurisdiction for gambling. It is affordable, has minimum requirements, and is well recognized. So what actually is going to change there? To understand what changes are expected in Curaçao legislation, so let's briefly discuss what is the current regulatory framework in this jurisdiction. So the key thing in Curaçao is that there are two main types of licenses within this jurisdiction. So the first one type of license is master license, so-called master license, and the second sub-licenses. The master type of license was issued in 1996 based on their regulatory framework, and only 4 private companies obtained this license. So you can see them in our presentation. So they include Amtelefon, Curaçao e-gaming, Gaming Curaçao, and Curaçao International Licensing. So these are only 4 companies who have obtained this license. These companies have a possibility to issue sub-licensing, which allows you to conduct different types of gambling activities as a sub-licensee based on their license. So probably these companies have a monopoly over Curaçao gambling in Curaçao gambling industry for almost more than 20 years. So starting from 1996 till these days. So the license period that they can issue, sub-license period, is 1 year. They require you a little substance requirements. So basically, almost in all of them is required or one local representative, or even there is no such requirement. So they all require RNG certification. They all require responsible gaming policy, and the licensing period is a year with a possibility to obtain, to renew this license when the time passes. And the approximate application review period is 2 weeks, depending on the master license holder. But as you know, they are all private companies and they are all interested in providing the most licenses. So another feature of Curaçao is no taxation on gross gaming revenue, which made it a perfect jurisdiction for gambling. The use scenarios for license were actually very simple. You could use these sub-licenses for providing services worldwide to those jurisdictions that do not prohibit online gambling and companies that have not local license. So what actually changed? So the changes actually are expected to be dramatically. First of all, the first and the most important, I guess, it's that there won't be any private company who is issuing sub-licenses. So basically, the key regulator and the owners will be Curaçao Gambling Authority. So currently there is a regulator, Curaçao Gaming Board, and it will be transformed in Curaçao Gambling Authority. It will be the only one who is responsible for issuing licenses. The substance requirements are expected to increase dramatically. So if now you need to have only one representative and registration within Curaçao, so there is a risk that potentially they will require physical office, 3 local employees like director, manager, and compliance officer. And the key thing here is that they need to work on a full-time job. So you can just imagine how hugely increased the operational expenses for a company holding such license. Approximate fees were mentioned by a consultant who is currently working on this legislation. And the funniest thing is that he was also a Malta forward CEO of Malta Gaming Authority. So approximate fees are expected to be 4,000 euros per application, 12,000 euros per year per license, and 250 for URL. Master license holders can operate for another 18 months after this regulation will take effect, but they won't be able, I guess, to issue any new licenses. The application period will also increase from 2 weeks to 6 weeks. Because, as we all know, the governmental authorities are not the private companies, and it will take more time to you to obtain a required license. So the companies who currently have licenses, sub-licenses provided by master license holders, will be able to continue their operations if they apply for obtaining a new license under this regulation. So there is some expectations that the regulation may take effect after the 1st of September. So the minister, yep, dear colleagues, some questions?
No.
Okay, so there are some expectations that it may apply later, since it wasn't presented to publicity. It's not commonly available and is not presented on the website. But nonetheless, it seems that the changes will be significant and will put a Curaçao almost in the same list, I mean, from the perspective of requirements, as Malta and Isle of Man. So while considering all these changes here at Finte Harbor, we decided, so what are possible options? So what can be used, like for startups, for companies who don't want the regulatory uncertainty, who want just to continue their operations with those requirements that we had in Curaçao. And I guess that we found a good solution. Anjouan as alternative to Curaçao. So let's consider Anjouan. The Anjouan key feature is that it has almost same requirements and even a little lower that had Curaçao and is currently having in its best years. So the key requirements: no formal substance requirements for the license. So in Anjouan legislation isn't mentioned any formal substance requirements for obtaining licenses. The licensing period is absolutely same. It is issued for 1 year with the right to renewal. So another feature, it is a license issued by authority and not a sub-license. So basically there won't be any risks, as in Curaçao, For example, if the government or regulator will decide to cancel the current license of master holder, there is a risk that your sub-license will stop. But in Anjouan, you obtain a license and not a sub-license. The application review period is 2 weeks, which is actually good, almost same as we have in Curaçao now. The single license for all type of activities. So as we mentioned before, the definition is quite wide. So you may basically provide almost any gambling activity within a single license. And the last but not least is use case scenarios. So why we consider Anjouan? Because with all these features, with a wide definition of gambling activities, with no almost any substance requirements, with fast application review process, you can use this license in the same way as a Curaçao license. So that is why we consider Anjouan as a great alternative to Curaçao sub-licenses now and licenses in future. So let's discuss a gaming regulation in Anjouan in little more details. So online gambling regulation in Anjouan has a history of more than 20 years. So as you can see, their key regulatory acts were presented in 2005, but other regulations that started regulated this activity work from the late 90s. Articles 2 and 3 of Anjouan define permitted activity as computer gaming services, which mean any computer services that allow users to bet on sporting events or other games of chance via internet. So absolutely wide range: casino games, poker, betting, lottery, provision of software, and white labeling services will be allowed under this license. The license period is 1 year with a further renewal. So if to summarize, I guess a great alternative in the perspective of regulatory changes that Curaçao is going to have, and also a good possibility to diversify risks. If you currently hold few licenses of have Curaçao license only, it's a good way to diversify your risks and to allow your business continuity. So what are the key requirements for obtaining Anjouan gambling license? So the requirements are very simple and basic for all gambling projects and jurisdictions. So it's proof of domainship, business plan, QIC and AML policies, responsible gaming and underage gaming policies, website review, terms and conditions, proof of RNG certification, copies of game content provider agreement for gaming systems, and of course company registration within Curaçao, Comoros, Costa Rica, and etc. So let's discuss the entire process, not only for obtaining license, but for building legal infrastructure for your gambling project from A to Z. So the stage 1 includes company registration in Comoros within 4 or 5 days, which is actually very fast. The second stage includes preparation of the application documents, submission this application within a month. So in the same way, it's also very fast considering the type of activities and the possibilities that you will obtain within this license. The fourth stage includes company registration in Cyprus. And the fifth stage includes PSP provider connection and bank account opening. So you may ask, what is the necessity of company registration in Cyprus? Well, basically, it is required to obtaining a bank account with a most appropriate and good fees from banks, fees in terms of commission, fees, and so on. to obtain the best solution from all possible. So we'll discuss it later in more details. So let's move forward to company registration process in Comoros. So to register a company in Comoros, basically you are required to provide your CV, professional reference letter, certified proof of address for the last 3 months, source of funds, clear criminal record, and notarized copy of international passport. So as you can see, very simple requirements that apply for almost any jurisdictions globally. The second stage, application, preparation of the application documents. So it will require from you proof of domainship, game provider agreement, and RNG certification, QIC policies, IML policies, responsible gaming, and underage gaming policies, plus TOMS. So as you can see, the preparation of the application documents, there are not so many required, and these requirements are not so complicated as in other jurisdictions. The third and fourth steps are submission of the application for obtaining a license and company registration in Cyprus. So after preparation of all required documents and submission and application for obtaining a license, the process of company registration will also start in Cyprus. So basically, here at FinTech Harbor, we try to provide the services in parallel to make the timeline absolutely minimum as possible. After the company will be registered in Cyprus, it will be appointed as a payment agent for Anjouan company, which will allow us to obtain the best payment solutions that is possible for such structures. The fifth step is, as we discussed, is very easy. So basically, we will open a bank account for a company and connect a PSP provider. So if to summarize, can Anjouan replace Curaçao? So as I told you before, Curaçao is it was personally my favorite jurisdiction, but I don't like also the compressions, if can it replace or not. But if to speak in correct terms, if to compare by key categories, we may see that actually yes. So the type of license, the substance requirements, the payment solutions, and application review, almost all these categories are better in Anjouan. So the license is very wide in both jurisdictions. The substance requirements may be significantly increased in Curaçao and minimum in Anjouan. The payment solutions. So it is the only disadvantage for Anjouan. It has less payment solutions since this jurisdiction is not so popular as Curaçao. But nonetheless, I guess that Anjouan probably will be more and more commonly known within banks, payment service providers, and EMI. So I guess that this disadvantage is not for a long time. And also, as we discussed previously, we added a Cyprus company to a structure, which will allow us to obtain an optimal payment solutions. And application review is significantly faster in Anjouan. It starts from 2 weeks versus 6 weeks, which are set in the proposal to Curaçao gaming legislation. So what factors should be considered when choosing a gambling jurisdiction? So the key factor is, of course, the client geography. If you want to provide services for jurisdictions that do not require a local license, it is okay. You may obtain Anjouan license and be legally allowed to provide the services for them. If you want to work with such jurisdictions as United Kingdom, as USA, as Spain, Italy, and so on, so it is required to obtain a national license. The second one is reputation and payment solutions. So the reputation of the jurisdiction has to be sufficient to maintain to obtain a possibility of opening accounts for your business. In terms of Anjouan, in Curaçao, usually structures with Cyprus are commonly used. So these terms, you should consider it while choosing the jurisdiction. Taxation and market access. So it is highly recommended to analyze the tax implications, not only from the perspective of jurisdiction where you are considering possibility of opening a company, but even to analyze the tax burden on a beneficiary level, on the level of distribution of dividends, to analyze all the tax implications to choose an optimal decision. And license and operational expenses. So as we discussed before, different jurisdictions have different requirements to substance and different requirements to fees. You should calculate them all and to choose what is optimal for you. So basically, it is recommended to analyze these expenses for 6 months, and it will be enough. So what current key basic recommendations we may provide to our clients, viewers, and colleagues. So the first one is for projects that require a local license in a specific jurisdiction. So as I told you before, only obtaining a national license. So the presence of third country license doesn't exempt you from obtaining a local in this case. For project licensed in Curaçao, well, for projects who are currently holding a Curaçao sublicense, I guess a possibility of obtaining a license in Anjouan may be a good possibility if you don't feel comfortable because of regulatory uncertainty, if you don't feel that you may comply with new substance requirements, and to diversify risks for your activities, it is a good option to obtain an Anjouan license. Startups that are considering their first licensing jurisdiction. So in this case, if you plan to provide services worldwide where it's not prohibited, Anjouan license may be also a good solution because of minimum substance requirements, low operational expenses, tax legislation, and other benefits, as we discussed before. And for projects who exclusively consider Curaçao license, so few of our clients like this jurisdiction, they want to be licensed there, so we probably recommend to wait when the legislation will take effect, when it will be published, and after it to consider if will you meet the requirements and will this license, you need to assess the possibility of obtaining this license and trying to compare it, of course, with Anjouan, because in case of increased requirements from Curaçao, basically it will lose its competitive advantages. And dear colleagues, thank you for listening. Max, I'm transferring word to you.
Yeah, thank you, Bogdan. Yeah, so literally gaming licenses and regulation is one of the popular and the hot topics among the gaming communities, also regarding our requests, which we are receiving from our customers and our partners. And I'm sure that today we discussed all key and important components of the different legal solutions. And I think that we can right now move to the Q&A from our customers. I see that we have a lot of questions. So also I'd like to mention that as our time is limited, we will try to answer to the majority of them, but don't worry, we won't skip anyone, and others will get replies offline via email, Telegram, or WhatsApp. So we are going to try to combine with the questions which we received once you registered to our webinar, together with the questions we are receiving right now in the chat. So Bogdan, we have one first question, which is which country is the best to have a company for gaming projects?
Yep, so basically the answer to this question depends directly on the jurisdictions in which this project plans to operate. So if we, as we discussed before, if you're planning to provide services within regulated jurisdictions, you're recommended to obtain like a national license. But in case if you want to operate globally in those jurisdictions where there are no limitation on provision of gambling services, so basically, I guess Anjouan in this case may be a good option for you because of no regulatory uncertainty, no formal requirements to substance, fast review process, and of course, minimal operational expenses. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, sounds great. Also, we have one question, which is from one of our customers who registered to the webinar, and the same question, similar question we have from the chat regarding, does this license allow onboarding from all jurisdictions, right? So the general question is, can you please advise if a company can onboard a client from the European Union jurisdictions or another jurisdictions with a strict regulatory frame on reverse socialization basis? Is this legal, and will the licensee face any problem?
Well, it's a perfect requirement, Max. When I first time was working with reverse solicitation and reverse targeting, I pronounced it almost in the same way. So great question. Thank you for this question. I worked a lot with my team on reverse solicitation, passportization within EU, and so on. And I'm glad to receive this question. So basically, the concept of reverse solicitation is implemented in MiFID II and IFMD directives of the European Union. So basically, these are two onerous directives which mention such concept. So in general, they apply to such services as asset management, as investment fund activities, and invest consulting. But unfortunately, this concept is not applicable to gaming regulation, since there is no EU directive or other directives that covers gambling within a few jurisdictions. So probably there is also another common concept. It is concept of passporting services. It is stated in MIC, it is stated in MiCA, also in MiFID II, PSD2, which allows you to conduct different types of activities within EU in different jurisdictions based on a single license. But unfortunately, it also is not applicable for gaming. Well, if to look on it not from a strict legal perspective, but from practical, I guess even if you can provide services for clients from this jurisdiction, so actually there are no limitation for a German citizen to use foreign gambling websites, but the regulator limits these activities. So currently, if to provide example, in Curaçao, you are required to have IP ban to jurisdictions which have its own legal framework. And in case if they see that you are providing services for German or US citizens, it may lead you to very different consequences. So basically, it is not allowed. It is not prohibited from the perspective of citizens of those jurisdictions, but definitely we cannot recommend you to build your licensing strategy on reverse solicitation because it's a very complicated concept, and it has, even in financial markets when it's basically allowed, but here, unfortunately, I guess no. I hope that I answered your question.
Yes. Also, we have one question from the chat from Maxime. What are the requirements on getting a gambling trade license in United Arab Emirates?
A good question, Max. Perfect. Another perfect question. So we have lots of good questions today. So, as I told you before, in general, gambling activities within United Arab Emirates are prohibited, but if you provide them to UAE citizens, but in case if you want to provide these services for citizens of other jurisdictions, Some United Arabian Free Zones allows this activity, so it's basically DMCC and Russellheim Free Zone. The requirements will highly depend on the contract situation and the type of activities that you are going to provide. I guess that since it is a new regulatory changes in UAE legislation, I mean from free zone legislation, you will be required to disclose your business model, to provide documentation. Maybe you will be asked to provide what current license does your project have, and only after this, the regulator, the free zone authority will provide you with a straight requirement. So I have with my team a huge experience in UAE legislation. We work a lot in UAE free zones. We work from 40, I like to tell that from 44 UAE free zones that currently exist, we have experience with 15 the most popular. So in case of gambling activities, I guess that regulator will decide what requirements you will have. So I hope I answered your question. And if you want to discuss it in a little more detail, so we invite you to our first free consultation, and we'll be very glad to discuss it.
That's right. Also, another question is, what jurisdictions do you cover? Let me answer this question. So as we mentioned already, as you can see, we have an extensive experience in obtaining gaming licenses in various jurisdictions, such as Malta, Comoros Islands, including Anjouan, Cyprus, Curaçao, which we already mentioned in our presentation today, and also other popular countries upon the request. So we literally have not so often, but sometimes we have different individual requests from our customers regarding the countries, specific countries, for example, like Gibraltar or Georgia, right, which is not so much popular, for example, in comparison with Curaçao, Malta, or Cyprus. So if you have any additional questions, or if you would like to get our recommendation in this case, just feel free to contact us and we'll discover to you directly. Yes, I hope I answered your questions to you. Also, we have another question. How long will it take to get a license, and how much will it cost? So first of all, if we're speaking regarding the general gaming license, which we are working with, so the total timeline of establishing a gaming structure, it starts from the 1 month. And everything depends on the project services, type of games that you're going to provide, and what countries you want to cover. And most importantly, where do you want to establish your business? So once we have a full understanding of the business model, so our team can suggest a strong and affordable solution. Another question we have, I have a new type of plan in betting, and how I can start a business? What is the registration procedure, and how to get startup investment? Bogdan?
Yeah, Pax, can you please repeat the question? Is a little bit
the customer asking. Generally, the customer asking that he has a new type of business plan in betting, so he's interested to understand how he can start a business, and what is the registration procedure, and literally how he can get startup investment.
Wow, great question. So regarding the procedure we discussed during this presentation, so if you have some innovative business model, first of all, you should analyze if it falls within a regulatory framework from the jurisdictions that we previously discussed. So if it's something innovative, primarily you have to assess if it falls under the current licenses. The second part of question, what are the requirements? So basically, if you consider Anjouan, and I guess that after we assessed your business plan, we may advise you in more detail if it can be licensed under this jurisdiction, or maybe we may provide you advice what other jurisdiction you should consider if not, but basically I guess that it should. And from the perspective of obtaining investment, unfortunately, as a lawyer, I may not provide any financial advices, but basically, I may say that for for gambling. So for gambling community, you should consider a possibility of searching special venture funds that are specializing on financing of gambling projects. You have to assess your business model to analyze what key advantages it has and why is it innovative. What new you can provide to a gambling to a gambling field. You have to analyze what of the key components of your invention can be patented to protect your business model from copying. And I guess after all this work, you may try to apply for obtaining some funds. But if you are considering to obtain initial funds, I guess that you probably should search some venture foundations that provides investments from the seed round. But currently, if to be honest with you, nowadays the in venture funds and in venture sector doesn't provide lots of investment as it was in 2021 during COVID period. So you have probably to make a good business plan for obtaining investment. So thank you very much for the question and for the possibility me feeling as a specialist in financial markets.
Yeah, that's right. And if we were already speaking regarding the different possibilities and solutions, we have another question which is close to this task from Katerina. Which is the best gambling license for global for 23-24 and why? 2023-2024 and why?
Wow, another good question. So basically, you need to analyze again. So if you speak regarding global, I understand that you mean jurisdictions that probably do not require a local license. So I guess in terms, if you are only starting business, Anjouan may be a good solution. If we were like a year before, I would definitely answer you that consider Curaçao, but unfortunately, I cannot advise this jurisdiction anymore since a great regulatory risks. So I guess probably for most of gambling businesses, Anjouan may be a good solution. But if you have some specific requirements and you want to discuss in more detail, so we will be glad to invite you to our first consultation. And if to speak regarding advantages, it's like very easy. So no regulatory uncertainty, no formal requirements, no substance requirements, and fast application review process if we speak regarding Anjouan. So thank you for your question.
Okay. Also another question from our chat from Roman. Do payment solutions which are available for Curaçao will be available for Anjouan? To be honest with you, that for now only some providers are working, but we predict that their number will increase depending on demand. So also we would like to mention that regarding the Anjouan gaming license, everything started from beginning of this year regarding noticing such license at all. Also, we have another question regarding how many clients, yes, name couple of clients of our clients who got an Anjouan license and live now. So as I mentioned, I would like to combine these two questions. So for the time being, we have already helped one customer to establish his gaming structure in Anjouan, and 3 for the time being in process. And we already checked that it's possible to find a payment solutions. We have some different partners who are planning to open their payment and financial services for gaming companies from Anjouan. And also I'd like to mention that we have an NDA agreement with each customer. So unfortunately, we cannot share this information. Also soon, the Anjouan will have their own online registry where you can also follow different companies as the same as they have for all different Comoros Island companies. So you can follow exactly the number of the license, like in the usual online registry in all countries, because literally everything right now is digital because we're living in this beautiful time. I hope your answer on these two questions. Give me a moment. We have another questions. What will be new changes in the Curaçao license? Literally, we have already discussed them, but if you want to add something, Bogdan, please tell us.
Yeah, basically we have discussed, but for me it's not a problem, of course, to summarize. So maybe the viewer just joined. So the key changes are expected to be the substance requirements. It is expected that the new legislation will include requirement to have a local office, 3 employees, and there is a risk that these employees will have to be a full-time workers. The second is increasement in state fees for obtaining the license. It will start the application fee, the fee for application review will be 4,000 euros, expected to be 12,000 euros per license per year, and URL 250. And there will be one single authority who can issue the licenses. So basically, these are all the changes, and the most dramatical change is in operational expenses, in fees, and in type of licensing. Yeah, so basically these are all the key changes which make Curaçao more close to Malta and Isle of Man. So they make this option more complicated.
Okay, I see. Thanks, Bogdan. And another question is probably will be the last question because we have a limited time. Gamble in the Middle East, in particular the United Arab Emirates, will it ever happen?
Well, probably if you asked me a few years ago, I will be sure to answer that rather no than yes. But nowadays, as we can see that few United Arabian Emirates start to provide licenses for gambling project, for gambling software developers. Few jurisdictions, as I know, even DMCC has something about 50 successful cases of providing licenses to gambling or gambling-related projects. The free zone Russellheim allows you to conduct something about 18 activities. Few of them are main and few of them are applicable to gambling. So I guess that in the nearest future, there is a possibility of developing this sector in UAE. But so here in Fintech Harbor, we believe in a bright future of gambling regulation, so both in UAE and worldwide. So if you ask me now, I will say that probably there may be such a possibility.
Yes, including that they are already changing their requirements regarding the corporate tax, right? In most of the zones in UAE. I think that right now the government is looking for another possibilities to invite more investments, including the gaming companies. I hope so. So
yeah, Max, so very sorry to interrupt you. Like a very great notice. Max noted a very significant thing that, as you may know, in UAE, in 2023 starts applying a 9% corporate income tax. So basically now UAE should consider new possibilities of obtaining more investments, more companies within this territory. So now it is a window of possibilities where it may happen.
Yeah, generally by this zero percentage of the corporate tax, they invited a lot of different companies by providing such comfortable conditions to start the businesses or expand their businesses in the UAE. So I think that they collected enough. And right now they are ready to receive some, like fund benefit to the government. So anyway, we will be in touch if something will happen. So literally, we will know about it 100%. So yeah, Bogdan and our dear viewers, I do suggest to end our Q&A part. We're already running out of the time. So I would like also to remind you that we have collected, our moderators collected all the questions which we didn't have a chance to answer to them. So we won't skip anyone, and we will get all replies, as I mentioned at the beginning of our webinar, via email, Telegram, or WhatsApp. So in general, we can conclude that for the time being, we have different great solutions for businesses who are interested to start providing gaming services or to change, for example, of the Curaçao who wants to expand or to apply for another license. So we have a not only new solutions, but also we already in touch with the different changes with existing licenses. And literally me, Bogdan, and our team is ready for upcoming regulations in the different jurisdictions, including the Curaçao and its challenges. So and as mentioned, and as it was done in our previous webinar, we are ready to announce that we are glad that you together with us today. And if you are ready to start the cooperation with the FinTech Harbor Consulting regarding the gambling services and gambling companies, we are ready to provide you with a 10% discount of the gaming license procedure itself. So this offer, as usual, is valid for everyone who attended the webinar and will contact us before the end of this month, August month. And you just need to contact us and write down in request the code word, which you can see right now as a presentation, gaming 23, and we will arrange you a meeting and find you the best and affordable and strong solution with great conditions, including a 10% discount. So next discussion will be as usual in the nearest weeks from now. As I mentioned for you before, that it will be great if you can follow our social media resources, follow the news and articles and blogs on our website, and you will get a notification about the next topic soon. But also we had a great experience in requesting a different types of messages from our customers and new customers that they are interested to know about upcoming regulation in Curaçao regarding the new details or alternative solutions in the gaming licenses. That's why we made exactly this webinar regarding the gaming license. So if you have any other alternatives or new ideas or already existing business in a different direction, so please let us know that you will be interested to get some new details regarding the procedure or licenses for you. So please let us know about it, and maybe next webinar will be according this topic. So I wish you a nice morning, afternoon, or evening, and thanks everyone for being with us today. And we are looking forward to working with you, and wish you all the best, and we'll be in touch.
Dear friends,
Bogdan, thank you.
Yeah. Dear friends, dear colleagues, dear viewers, so thank you all for joining us. I see you in the same time and the same place.
Yeah, see you everyone. Bye.